My name is Diana Conway, and I'm the president of the Women's Democratic Club. You have a screen that says you're being recorded, so please press continue and we'll carry on. Thank you for joining us tonight. Our guest tonight is Dr. Gilberto Zelaya from the Montgomery County Board of Elections. WDC is proud to welcome Dr. Zelaya. We are a membership organization of politically active women and men working for the democratic policy priorities and to elect Democrats up and down the ballot. I want to encourage people to join WDC and become part of our community. We have a number of very active committees, which you can see here, listed with their chairs, doing work up and down the chain of issues from managing the database for our club to advocacy on behalf of our issues. Next slide, please. We have a very busy calendar of events. If you look at our website, the community events as well as WDC events, there's a lot going on, but you already knew that. And coming up for the watch parties, WDC is joining MoCo Women for presidential and vice presidential watch parties, as well as the election night watch party. You can RSVP on our website or the link there, which will be at our website as well. And we really hope that in addition to joining WDC, you will consider becoming a volunteer, that you will help get people out to the polls to vote and make sure that you and your friends and family have an actual plan to vote. So before we move to our speaker tonight, we have an annual meeting that we have to quickly run through. We have a new tax status that requires us to have annual meetings instead of every other year. There being no election this year, it'll be short. So as president, I'm going to call our annual meeting to order. My first order of business is to thank the outgoing board members and recognize them for their work with the club. I wanted to thank Shruti Bhatnagar and Sarah Wallach. Excuse me, my page just fell. Shruti Bhatnagar and Sarah Wallach for, I beg your pardon, I'm sorry. We are also welcoming in, and Aruna Miller, I'm sorry. And we are welcoming in several new committee chairs. Joanne Corvos is our advocacy chair, who's going to make sure we keep track of and weigh in on the issues of importance to our members. Dr. Scotty Griffin is the person who just gotten into her groove organizing events for our club when COVID put her job on ice. But we look forward to having her back together with us when we are meeting in person again. I also want to welcome Yvette Monroe, who is the co-chair of the Community Education Committee, and Barbara Zelenko, who chairs our Programs Committee and pulled together events like the one today. So welcome to the board, all of you, and thank you for taking on this work. The president's report is pretty straightforward. We need to get people to the polls. We need to make sure they're informed. And I want to give you specifically an update on the work that we've been doing on police reform and use of force specifically. WDC has a new task force, Racial Equity and Public Safety, or REPS. And that task force has plunged into the issue of law enforcement, criminal justice, and racism. I'm happy to say that we've been actively participating in hearings at the county and the state level on use of force and what the policies should be and where the liabilities lie, where the limits are, where the accountability will lie. I want to thank former WDC President Beth Tomasello for writing tremendous testimony for this past Tuesday's hearing before a state Senate committee and tracking a lot of moving parts. That area is going to keep us busy for a long time. I'm proud to be part of the WDC family that is working hard on this. It's somewhat new as an issue area for WDC, but it couldn't be more timely as we see what happened when the Breonna Taylor grand jury came forward today. We should all be equal before the law. So I'm not going to belabor that. I hope people will get involved with our activities and our committees on this. That is all the business we have for our annual meeting. So I'd like to ask for a motion to adjourn. Fran, thank you. And may I have a second? Barbara, thank you very much. Okay. Well, this concludes our annual WDC meeting, and we will move right into our program. So the election, losing Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Breonna Taylor, our postal service being eviscerated, vote by mail suddenly seems unreliable, but going to the polls could kill you, voter suppression from Mitch McConnell in Kentucky to St. Mary's County in Maryland, where they suddenly only had time to find one early voting site, and it was as far as possible from the Black and brown people in St. Mary's County. As I heard from an activist in Massachusetts this week, I know too much not to do anything. One of the things I love about being part of the WDC family is people are doing things here, and our job today is to introduce you to somebody very responsible for getting things done in our election. Dr. Gilberto Zelaya is known to Montgomery County residents as Dr. Z. He is the Community Empowerment and Public Information Officer between the County Board of Elections and the Maryland State Board of Elections, responsible for coordinating community relations and outreach with an emphasis on compliance with Montgomery County's Spanish language requirements under the Voting Rights Act. And this includes volunteer recruitment, public information in English and Spanish, early voting logistics, election day logistics, managing 27 full-time employees and numerous temp workers, and training and deploying a daunting number of volunteers. Dr. Zelaya has held this position since 2003. And welcome, Dr. Zelaya, for it's probably the busiest election season you've had. So we thank you for taking the time to talk with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity to engage part of the electorate. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir. I'm pretty sure all of you must have a vote plan. If not, don't tell anyone, and by the time we're done, you will have one. I do also want to iterate that there's a lot of concerns circulating, but I could attest that in Maryland and Montgomery County, the vote by mail process works. I know that there's a lot of noise going on nationally, but Montgomery County, we got your back, and we have an infrastructure in place, and we've been forthcoming and proactive in ensuring that you have mechanisms in which you can return your mail-in ballot if you do not desire to leverage the United States Postal Service. I will start with my presentation. Okay. So obviously, in order to participate in the franchise, you must be registered to vote. That's the first step. In Maryland, you must be at least 16 years of age to register, but of course, you must be 18 by November 3rd to vote. You must live in Maryland and be a U.S. naturalized or a U.S. born citizen. Now, there's multiple ways of entering the franchise. We've created a series of texting prompts to kind of bridge the digital divide as it pertains to voter registration. You could text the word vote to 77788, vote to 77788. And quickly, before we start, I will share these slides with Ms. Conway, so don't worry about taking notes. I will share the slides, so we're gonna be like a school-age children. Pay attention to me, and I will share you my notes. So moving forward, you could also go on our website at 777vote.org. Mind you, in order to leverage the vote prompt via text, you must have a Maryland driver's license, permit, or ID. If you don't, you could leverage and use the last 4 digits of your social security number, and you could download the applications from our website, which we have in English, Spanish, Korean, traditional, and simplified Chinese. Actually, after the 2018 elections, we worked closely with the State Board of Elections to encourage them to translate the voter registration application into 3 additional Asian languages. And after this election, we will continue to impress upon them to translate them in hopefully Amharic and French. So we're trying to expand the electorate. Montgomery County, as you know, is extremely diverse. 10 out of the most diverse cities in America, we have 4 of them: Silver Spring, Rockville, Germantown, and Gaithersburg. You could also add White Oak, Aspen Hill, Glenmont into the fold, which is part of Silver Spring, but nonetheless, we have a very diverse electorate. You could call our office at 240-777-8500 if you need for us to mail you a copy of the voter registration application if your printer is not working, or you could email us, which I encourage you to do. We're kind of popular, so it will be kind of difficult to get a hold of someone. But if you can't, and if you're running late and you have to run errands, you can email us at elections@montgomerycountymd.gov and give instructions to the staff person, and we will mail you a voter registration application ASAP. You could also visit us in person from Monday to Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. You do not need an appointment, but we will implement physical social distancing while you're in the office. Or you could go to the Motor Vehicles Administration, but you must have an appointment in order to do so. So one thing that's equally as important as registering to vote is updating your voter registration as needed. Whether you have a name change, a party affiliation change, an address change, and even if you're living within the same apartment complex or high rise, and you're moving from the second floor to the fifth, for us and for all local boards of elections, that's an address change. So you definitely need to update your mailing address. Why? Hopefully you should be receiving the sample ballot. It's hitting the mail stream. I got mine yesterday. So between now and Monday, you'll receive your corresponding bilingual sample ballot. And if the address listed on your voter registration record is outdated, your previous address will get this. The post office will not forward any mailing from the Board of Elections. That includes your sample ballot, a ballot, and any correspondence, especially the vote by mail application that was sent by the State Board of Elections about a month ago. So please, any life changes, we don't need to know the details. We just need to know the information so you can update your record. Now you could do that by texting the word check to 77788. I highly recommend you copying or forwarding that link to your email, in which you could save on your desktop as a browser save, because you can not only can you follow the lifeline or the timeline of your mail-in ballot submission, but also you could track when your ballot was sent to the corresponding address listed on your mail-in application, when it was received at the Montgomery County Board of Elections, and when it was incorporated into the canvas, and lastly, when it was accepted. So you could follow the whole lifeline, the timeline of your mail-in ballot submission by texting the word check to 77788, or you could go to our website and identify the Maryland voter lookup to follow the timeline of your mail-in ballot. This is an image, and actually I need to update. This is from the primary, but nonetheless, you can review your voter registration at the Maryland voter lookup. It's a tool. You can request a duplicate voter registration card. You can find out where your polling place is. But of course, we're going to vote centers, and we'll talk about that in a second. And you could check the status of your absentee. The verbiage has changed to mail in. And we identify absentee, formerly known as absentee, as mail-in ballot, and also the status of your provisional ballot if you have to vote one. Moving forward, the voter registration deadline, the postmark deadline is October 13th. It's about 3 weeks, less than 3 weeks away. If for whatever reason you moved into Montgomery County after the deadline, or you were living under a rock and you didn't register to vote, and now you do want to register to vote, you can leverage the same-day voter registration legislation during early voting and election day. You need to bring a Maryland driver's license, permit, or ID, or a pay stubs, paycheck, bank statement, utility bill, or other governmental document with your name and current Montgomery County address. Now, earlier, Ms. Conaway mentioned Section 203 of the 1975 Voter Rights Act. So Congress amended the 1965 Voter Rights Act in 1975 because it found that through various practices, language minorities were being excluded from the franchise. So Montgomery County received their consent decree from the Department of Justice in 2002 to hire an administrator and someone to revamp and to strengthen, expand outreach efforts to language minority. Hence, I was hired. And having said this, after the 2000 census in 2002, that's when the Department of Justice contacted Montgomery County Board of Elections. Now, here's another urban myth. So in order to be a US voting citizen, naturalized citizen, you need to speak the Queen's English. That is not true. There's an exception to the rule. If you're 50 years of age and you've been living in the US as a legal resident for 20 years or a green card holder, the card no longer is green. It used to be green in the 80s and the 90s. Now it's not green anymore. But nonetheless, if you're 55 years of age and you've been living in the US as a legal resident for 15 years, you are exempt from taking the interview portion and the quiz on civics and history in English. You could take it in your native language. So hence, my grandmother at 70 years of age, when she became a naturalized citizen, she took her quiz and interview in Spanish. And this is as per the Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. So voting after a criminal conviction. So for individuals who are incarcerated or serving their court order of imprisonment, they lose or their voting privileges are inactivated. We never delete a record. We inactivate a record unless we get notification from a loved one or from the health department that a voter has passed. But once that individual has completed their court-ordered sentence of imprisonment or incarceration, they can re-register even while on probation. And so they can re-register and join the franchise. The only time you will lose your voting privileges if you're convicted of a felony of buying or selling votes. Now, obviously, we've been encouraging our voters since the primaries to vote by mail. There was a huge difference under Hogan's proclamation between the primary and the general. In the primary, every single registered voter was mailed a ballot. For the general election, every single registered voter was mailed an application. And we'll talk about one of the nuances and some of the confusion when individuals previously applied to get a mail-in ballot, but then received an application from the State Board of Elections. Nonetheless, this request must be received by October 20th. The voter registration deadline is a postmark deadline, which means if I print and walk my application to the post office and I get the postmaster to put a postmark on it, even if we receive the application on the 15th of October, 2 to 3 days after the fact, we are obligated to process it. However, for mail-in ballots, we must have it in our hands at the Montgomery County Board of Elections by October 20th. So if you're doing it online, you could text the 3 letters VBM, which stands for vote by mail, to 77788, or you could download the application and mail it to us. But if you are mailing it to us, highly recommend you put it in the postal stream no later than the 14th, 15th of October. Now, why did I get a mail-in application? So about a month ago, there was a lot of noise regarding this. So what happened is Maryland has over 4 million registered voters. Previous to August 6th, a lot of individuals who were proactive applied to receive said application via mail when they were ready and when they have been printed. Now, having said that, on the 6th of August, the State Board of Elections did a data pool in order to arrange and to coordinate a massive print job through the vendor to mail said application. So if you applied from the 6th of August through the 23rd, 24th of August, you received this lovely envelope containing the mail-in application in both English and Spanish. It wasn't that the state didn't know what they were doing. The problem is, in order to mail close to 4 million mail-in applications, there has to be a cutoff so the vendor could print all of this and assemble this packet to be mailed to you. But nonetheless, don't worry. If you did wait a couple of weeks and you did submit, even if you submitted your original request online or via paper, that second submission will trump the first one and you will not receive 2 ballots. Once again, you could text the word VBM to 77788 or check the status of your application by texting the word check to 77788. Now, I think that the Post had an article regarding web delivery. Now, web delivery was created, which is an option to vote by mail. And the concerns we had is that web delivery was designed for our military personnel, Americans living overseas in countries with poor postal infrastructure, or voters with special needs. And some voters, for whatever reason, feel that web delivery means voting over the internet. It may be, avant-garde or cool, but it's not internet voting. What it is once you apply for a web delivery ballot, The State Board of Elections will email you a login and a password for you to download and print your ballots. And we are assuming that you are going to use your own paper, your own toner, and your own printer. And you must provide your own envelope to return that voted web delivery ballots. And you will need to provide your own postage. Now, having said that, the administrative burden will fall on the Montgomery County Board of Elections because now we're going to need to duplicate that ballot. And when we duplicate that ballot, we have bipartisan teams, one Democrat, one Republican, or one Democrat and one unaffiliated, copying the voter's intention on that 8.5 sheet of paper, 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper, onto the official format cardstock ballots, because our high velocity scanners cannot scan an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper that you traditionally print at home or at your office. We will need to basically duplicate the voter's intention on that web delivery ballot onto an official ballot. And as of this morning, we have over 30,000 web delivery ballots that we need to duplicate. Now, if you do decide to vote via web delivery, if you do submit a paper application, on the application you have two options. You could pick the US mail, which is preferred, or internet delivery, which is the web delivery. And if you request the traditional mail, we will send you a mail-in ballot packet. That will include the return envelope. We will pay postage. You will have the official formatted ballots. If you look at that third image, there's the official election mail, which actually through the sorters at the post office will expedite that packet. And also remember, do not forget to sign your voter oath on the return envelope. One of the things that the State Board of Elections, and we communicated with them as well in Montgomery County, was a lot of individuals had concerns that the post office or individual handling their mail-in ballot could see their signature on the back end of the return envelope. So the envelopes that will be used this time around for the general election will have a privacy screen, and then we will need to tear that back end is perforated so we could gain access to the signature to ensure that there's a signature. For those individuals curious, we do not match signatures against your record. We just confirm that there's a signature. Once again, we do not match the signature on the return envelope. We will confirm that there's a signature. If there's no signature, we will make every effort to contact that voter, and that individual will need to come to the Board of Elections to sign that ballot. Otherwise, we will not incorporate into the canvas and it will be rejected. So please don't go through all the process of registering to vote, requesting to vote by mail, receive your ballot, vote your ballot, and then not sign that envelope. Please sign your envelope. Now, there's a lot of noise, once again, static about the postal service, okay? If you have any concerns regarding the postal service, we will install up to 50 ballot drop boxes across Montgomery County. Once again, sample ballots you should receive, either have it in hand or over the next couple of days receive your sample ballot, which will have all the information, locations of the ballot drop boxes, the installation dates, etc. Okay, so make sure, and if you lose this, you could go to our website and you could download another copy. Now, nonetheless, please mark up your sample ballot, review your sample ballot, and make a vote plan. Now, these boxes, they are secure. Once again, the ballot drop boxes are secure. They're under 24-hour surveillance. We are working with the local authorities, whether that be the county security, the county police, or if a ballot drop box is located within a municipality like Rockville, Tacoma Park, or Gaithersburg, we're working with the corresponding municipal police. They are secure. They are about 500 pounds each. They're not going to walk away. They're secure, and there's 24-hour surveillance on the 50 ballot drop boxes. Now, regarding how we're going to collect ballots submitted or deposited in the official ballot drop box, we will have bipartisan teams visiting every single ballot drop box at minimum twice a day. But if we see that a particular drop box, for example, in a very dense area, Silver Spring Civic Building, if we see that we see hundreds of ballots within the drop box, then we will increase the amount of times that we will visit that corresponding ballot drop box. We will send out bipartisan teams, a Democrat and a Republican, or a Democrat or unaffiliated staff person, to empty out those boxes from the moment that it's installed all the way until 8 p.m. Election Day, November 3rd. And so part of the operations is we will need to unseat and remove any tamper tape, seals, or tags. Those will be documented if you look at the second image. And then we will empty out the bins and we will put the ballots collected into a blue bin, and then we will attach seals, tamper tape, and tags on both the blue ballot bins, and we're going to reseat new tamper tapes, new seals, new tags onto the ballot drop box once it's been emptied out. The corresponding bipartisan teams will sign the corresponding document. And so let's say this is the morning team visiting, this is the Germantown Recreation Center. The afternoon team will get the carbon copy of the paperwork filled out from the morning team. And so there's anything or any of the sequence, or there's something that doesn't match or doesn't sound right or look right, they're instructed to contact the Montgomery County Board of Elections immediately, and we will implement our SOPs as it pertains to safeguarding these ballot drop boxes. Now, once these ballots are collected, we will hold off for 24 hours. We're going to institute public health measures just to keep our staff safe, because the same staff that are fielding and processing these ballots are also part of the team that will canvass said ballots. And after that 24-hour clock has ticked, we will start date stamping, sorting, and scanning these ballots as received. And if you look at the bottom right-hand corner, the image, this gentleman is actually scanning my ballots. And so once they scan that ballot as received, that evening, the State Board of Elections will upload to the voter record that it's been received. And this is the reason why I'm encouraging you to text the word check to 77788, or go to our website or the Maryland State Board of Elections website, which is elections.maryland.gov, to identify the voter lookup and to bookmark it to your laptop. It's one less call you will need to make at the Board of Elections calling about where's my ballot. So you could follow the timeline and you could help our staff by looking and keeping track of what's going on from submission to introduction, canvas introduction. So once it's been scanned in, it's going to be incorporated into the canvas. We have bipartisan teams. If you look at the upper right-hand corner, the bottom left-hand corner, obviously we have bipartisan teams in all aspects of handling your mail-in ballots. And if you see the gentleman here opening using the letter opener, you have unique batches, batch 35, 28, 26, 30, 23 on this image. So if we need to revisit a batch or an envelope for whatever reason, we have them identified by batches. And individuals are concerned about when will results be ready. I'm gonna be honest with you, they're not gonna be ready, all of them, November 3rd. That's not realistic. Historically, canvass would have started the Thursday after Election Day, which would have been November 5th. We've gotten clearance from the State Board of Elections to start canvassing October 1st. In Montgomery County, we're going to start canvassing the 6th of October, leading to November 3rd. So on November 3rd, when the State Board of Elections has announced that all voting centers are closed, and then the corresponding return judges will drive the CF memory cards back to the Board of Elections. Once all that is done, we will release the outcomes from early voting, which is the 26th of October through the 2nd of November, those results. We will release whatever in-person votes were cast on Election Day at our vote centers, and whatever canvas ballots from the 6th of October through the 23rd will be released that evening. And I'll be honest with you, there's no way we're going to scan or canvas upwards of 350,000 mail-in ballots on November 3rd. So you just have to be patient with us, but we will try our best to scan as many by the 3rd. but we'll be continuously scanning and updating our website leading up to December. Now, early voting. So if you're not voting by mail, which we highly encourage, you could vote during early voting from October 26th through November 2nd from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. I won't go into the details of the locations. They're listed there, and they're also listed on your sample ballots. They're the same 11 locations from the 2018 elections. They will be open to the public if you're not voting by mail. At each corresponding early voting center, you will have an official ballot Dropbox, just like this image here at the Boer Park Activity Center. So each early voting center will have a corresponding ballot Dropbox. A popular question we get from individuals is, can I deliver or deposit my mother's or my husband's or my neighbor's ballot? Yes, but that voter must fill their own ballot, seal their own ballot, sign the return envelope, and then they can hand it off to you. There's no paperwork that you need to fill out. However, if you are actually helping someone cast their ballot or cast their vote or to fill in the bubbles, there's a document called the voter assistance form that you will need to fill out. You cannot be a manager, you cannot be the voter supervisor, you cannot be a candidate appearing on the ballot, nor a treasurer for said candidate. But you could be their child, their son, their neighbor, and you could assist the voter, especially the voter, maybe English or Spanish is not their native language. You could assist them, and you will need to fill out the voter assistance form in addition to the voter and incorporate that into the return envelope with the voted ballots and make sure that the voter signs the voter oath on the return envelope. Then the individual can, or anyone can, deposit that envelope on behalf of the voter. Now, if you miss the 8 days of early voting, I could tell you that the first and last days are historically extremely busy. If you feel that voting in person is like going to Target or Walmart to buy milk, it's not, okay? It's not, because I have never seen 500 people buying milk at one time at Target. So if you show up at an early voting location, you're going to expect the line. So please be mindful of our election poll workers and our staff. They're there for you. They're there to serve you. Now, in addition to the 11 early voting centers, they will be converted to vote centers. And also we will add a full complement of Montgomery County Public High Schools, except Thomas Edison High School. And our board has added the White Oak Senior and Community Center, the Nancy Dasick North Potomac Community Center, and the Marriott Hotel Montgomery County Conference Center in Rockville or North Bethesda. So there's going to be 39 locations in which individuals could vote in person, and the 40th will be the Montgomery County Board of Elections. So you have options. What's unique about vote centers for November 3rd, you will not report to your neighborhood elementary school or social hall or library as in years past. We're going to put signage at those facilities, so do not be surprised if you show up at the particular elementary school. There's no one going to be there. You can knock your door until your knuckles bleed. No one's going to open the door, okay? But we're going to put a sign that says your closest vote center is this location, but we will list them all. So please, please review your sample ballot, and you will identify all 39 locations plus the Montgomery County Board of Elections as a vote center. We will have texting prompts that we are in process of activating, which will help you expedite to make a better decision. So for example, if you text the letters VC for vote center and your zip code by the 3rd of November, what you will get are the 3 to 4 closest vote centers, address, and wait times. So hypothetically, let's say you live in Silver Spring and you do the texting prompt, or you visit our website for wait times, and you see that Montgomery Blair's wait time is 1.5 hours. And you see that the Silver Spring Civic Building's wait time is 1 hour and 15 minutes. But you happen to see that the Wheaton High School wait time is 35 minutes. Common sense, go to Wheaton because it's a 35-minute wait. Now, if you want to wait 1.5 hours at Silver Spring, go ahead, but make sure your cell phone is charged and you download War and Peace to it. By all means, common sense, use the tools that we've created so you can make the best decisions, so you could exercise your right to vote. Now, if you do decide to vote by mail and for whatever reason you decide to show up to vote in person, you will need to vote a provisional ballot. End of statement. Once again, if you decide to vote by mail and then you decide to vote in person, you will need to vote a provisional ballot. Even if you bring your ballot to the polling place, the judge will tell you you have two options. Either vote the ballot that's on your hand and deposit it in the ballot Dropbox or give it to one of the judges and we have a yellow bag which will collect ballots, or you have to check in and it's going to add additional time to your voting experience because the provisional process is very lengthy. It's not an in and out process. So if you want to wait an additional 30 to 40 minutes, once you check in, please do not vote in person if you're going to request to vote by mail. And once again, please, voting twice is illegal in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. Once again, voting twice is illegal in all 50 states, the District of Columbia, and Puerto Rico. So please don't try it. We audit the elections and we will identify individuals voting twice. We will investigate and research to see if maybe it was a 95-year-old voter with dementia, or maybe twins accidentally voting each other's ballots, or junior and senior accidentally voting each other's ballot. I've seen it all. 9 times out of 10, it's an accident, or maybe an error due to the check-in judge at the polls. But if we do see there's malicious intent, then we will forward your name to our canvass board and our legal counsel, and if need be, they will forward your name to the state's attorney. Now, if you do vote in person, you do have the option to either vote the standard cardstock ballots, or you could use the ballot marking device, which is kind of a digital marker. We call it an expensive pen, okay? And it helps you fill the ballot. It helps you navigate through and fro your corresponding ballots. It's essentially a touchscreen. It eliminates unclear marks. It also eliminates overvotes. You could always undervote or leave a contest or a ballot blank. I wouldn't know why you would do that, but you have the right to, and we've seen that. But nonetheless, also what's great about the Express Vote ballot marking device, it allows special needs voters to vote independently, as written in the Constitution. In the Constitution, it states you have the right to vote a secret ballot. If you happen to be blind or have special needs or issues with your vision, the ballot marking device allows that voter to vote independently. For those individuals who may be paraplegic or need a sip and puff equipment to be mobile or to communicate, you could actually connect the sip and puff to the ballot marking device to vote independently. There's English and Spanish. You could pick either language. There's audio. There's high and low contrast. For voters who are blind, you also have a grayscale. You could magnify the ballot by 35%. And if you're blind or have issues with your vision, you can leverage the audio tactile keypad or braille keypad to navigate through the ballot. You could do a combination. I could have poor eyesight, listen to the audio in Spanish. I could slow it down. And if I'm colorblind, I could also magnify it and put it on grayscale. So it really gives the voter the ability to vote independently. And you have access, regardless if you are not a special needs voter, you can use the ballot marking device. And both the format, let me go back. If you look at this, let me go one more screen. This sheet of paper you see in the hand, that's called the activator card. Whether it's the activator card that prints your selections on each contest or the traditional cardstock ballot, the scanning unit will take both formats. Now, voter assistance. So this is a popular question. How can I help? How do voters get assistance? So if someone's voting by mail, you have the designation of agent form. So if you need someone to pick up an individual's ballot at the Board of Elections, that individual must get the designation of agent form at the Board of Elections first. They will sign, there's a whole procedure. Then that individual will go to the voter's residence and they need to sign that document. And then the voter, the assister, will need to come back to the Board of Elections with that signed document. And only then we could give that individual the corresponding voter's ballot. It's a lot of back and forth, okay? Or that individual could request to vote by mail. And in the packet, you'll receive what is called the voter assistance form. And we did the little scenario of someone helping a voter, and that form needs to be filled out by both the assister and the voter and incorporated into the mail-in ballot packet. Also, you could go to the Board of Elections Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. Our office will be open from 7 to 8 p.m. during early voting, in case you need assistance as well. And also, you have your trustee sample ballot that you should have received or going to receive in the mail. And everything we talked about, this will get into the weeds about details, locations, address. And so you have multiple mechanisms to help a voter voting by mail. Now, if you're voting in person, we have our poll workers. A lot of them are bilingual, not just in Spanish, but other languages in Montgomery County. We have Board of Elections staff and also other voters. You could bring a family, friend, or a relative to assist you on election day, but that individual must sign the voter assistance form, and the both chief judges, one Democrat, one Republican, must sign that document. That individual there's no requirement for that individual to be a U.S. citizen to help the voter. The voter needs to be a citizen in order to register to vote, but the assister, there's no requirement, and there's no age requirement as well. Also, we do have the language line, so if we don't have a bilingual staff, let's say in French or in Korean, then we can leverage the language line to assist that individual. And once again, you have the trustee sample ballot that we could provide to voters in case they need assistance. Now, we're always looking for bilingual and non-Democratic poll workers. We have a lot of Democratic poll workers. Montgomery County is predominantly Democrat. We have a lot of civic-minded volunteers. If you happen to be a volunteer and you're on this webinar, remember, you're only a candidate until you complete your online quiz, your virtual component of training, and then you could do your hands-on training. We added this year the virtual component to reduce our in-person training by 50%. So if you are a voting operation judge, historically your hands-on training will be 4 hours. We've reduced it to 2. Our class sizes are small. We will physically distance or social distance the tables 6 to 10 feet. Every election poll worker will have their own set of equipment so they can acclimate themselves. Everything but the ceiling is being sanitized before, during, and after each session, because we want to keep not only our volunteers safe and healthy, but also our staff. You must be a U.S. citizen at minimum 16 years of age and registered to vote in the state of Maryland. You could earn up to $310 or 25 student service learning credits. We have part-time and full-time positions. PPEs will be provided. You could text the word SERVE to 77788 or visit us on our website at 777vote.org to apply. But we do have we have a long list, and we're working through those individuals. The problem that we are having is our candidates are not following through. They're not taking the quiz, and they need to do that before they came and do the virtual component of training and then the hands-on before we could assign them an early voting location and or a vote center location for November 3rd. And thank you so much. So I'm gonna stop share. And it's a lot of information, but I will share these slides with Ms. Conway and she will share it with the membership.
Terrific. Terrific. Thank you, Dr. Zelaya. Thank you. That was, as you say, a lot of information.
Yeah.
You get through it very smoothly. Good slides. I can, at this end of the world, I can always appreciate a nice, smooth PowerPoint, unlike my own startup here tonight. A lot of questions are coming in, some very specific and some very broad, sort of upset questions, I guess. A logistical question, is it possible to be a canvasser or a vote counter without having worked at an actual voting center? In other words, to be trained just for that part of the job?
So for a board of canvassers, we usually dig into our pool of experienced election judges. So we're really worked through our election judge pool. Historically, we do leverage our chief judges. They're very experienced. They know the process. They know the expectations. And also we're expanding those poll workers that work the primary canvas. So it'll be very difficult to bring someone from the outside. We tend to work internally with our chief judges. I do appreciate the interest. What you can do is apply to be a poll worker. And if all goes well as a poll worker, and then we may invite you to work the canvas. But we try to really identify our seasoned judges that have been doing this year in and year out.
Okay, thank you. I neglected to recognize among the folks who have joined us is Joan Kleinman, who represents our Senator Chris Van Hollen, and also Delegate Jared Solomon from District 18, two of our favorite Montgomery County-based elected officials, state and federal. So thank you for joining us. If there are other elected officials out there, please put yourselves in the chat. I'd love to be able to welcome you formally. And okay, so the next question is, how does Montgomery County, or does Montgomery County, carry out voting roll purges?
Voting roll purges. So
well, I think we've all heard horror stories about certain states deciding, oh, you haven't voted in 28 seconds. We're taking you out.
So one tip I could give you guys, Montgomery County and Maryland, don't compare us to other states. I know there's a lot of noise in the South and in the Midwest. Montgomery County has been identified, and including the state of Maryland, as best practices nationally and globally. As it pertains to voter purge, I mentioned it during the slide, we do not remove or purge a record unless there's confirmation that the individual has passed. If an individual does not vote 2 consecutive elections, we inactivate that voter. We don't know, because one of the issues that we have is we spend your money, your tax dollars, to send sample ballots. And if we don't inactivate records and there's a voter that's not a proactive voter that doesn't participate in the process, we're spending money not only to print a sample ballot per se, but also mailing it. So if we see that a voter has not voted in several elections, we don't purge them, we will inactivate them. But then we have confirmation mailing that we do every single year to clean our records. Sometimes we notice where, let's say, an individual registers to vote at 18, many years pass, they get married, they re-register with their new married name, and then we identify down the line that we need to merge that record because that individual is the same person, but because they never communicated that, we can assume that Mary Smith is Mary Anderson, even though it's the same date of birth and all, but has a different address. So one of the things that we're pushing is, please, by all means, maintain your voter registration record up to date by texting the word check to 77788.
Okay, great. Great. Do poll observers, or I'm sorry, before I go on, you said if you haven't voted in last 2 elections, do you mean like the presidential cycles or any?
So it would be pre-16. So if you voted to 16, you're still good. So if you voted 14, your record may be inactive. Keep in mind also, a way to keep your record active if you live within a municipal election, a municipality. So if you don't live in Rockville or Gaithersburg, you really need to keep your record up to date. And the best way to do it is text the word check or to use the voter lookup. But historically, if it's 2 federal elections that you have not participated, we will inactivate your record. If you submit, per se, a mail-in application request, that application will actually reactivate your record. So we had individuals that were inactive, they submitted to vote by mail, and then their voter registration was reactivated because they reappeared suddenly, and now they want to join the franchise again. So we do as much as possible to really keep the franchise open, but also we need to keep the records clear and clean because we work off the record as it pertains to equipment allocation, election judge allocation, if we need to expand a vote center and maybe split it, right? So the more that record's updated, the better we could work off the voter rolls to prepare for each election.
I'm going to tag these 2 together. The first part of it is, do poll observers or judges need to be Maryland residents? I have a friend in Virginia who could help. Could she help process the mail, the ballots, anything like that?
No, in order to be an election judge, you must live in Maryland. And even in order to work at the Board of Elections, you must live in Maryland and be a Maryland registered voter.
Oh, interesting. And then next to that, it says, we received a ballot application and a sample ballot for the previous owner of this house. We moved in 1997. What should that person do?
So what's happening is, because you're keeping that registration, we're assuming that individual still lives there. So on the back of the sample ballot, there's a return service requested. You would check, let's see, you would check if not at this address. So check not at this address and return it back to the Board of Elections. This is too bright.
Right. Okay. So this is,
so it's in the back of the sample ballot. So we do pay for return service requests. So check not at this address. And when we get this, we will initiate confirmation mailing to ensure that that person doesn't live there any longer. And maybe we will look up the voter record. It could be that they live somewhere else and we try to match the record, or maybe they moved to Prince George's. Once we identify that record, then we will merge that record.
Okay. How many duplicate ballots were mailed in June and how many duplicate ballots were cast?
I don't know. I don't have those numbers memorized.
Is that
it's 752? I don't know. So I know for this election, we have right now about 30,000, a little over 30,000 to duplicate. I don't have that question. I wasn't prepared to answer questions for
Sure, no, that's fine. I understand. A lot of questions out there. So the person who submitted the question about moving into their house in 97 and getting the previous owners, perhaps they didn't keep the sample ballot. Should they call the Board of Elections or just?
No, return it back. Or you could,
but I mean,
so you could either email the Board of Elections and state that this individual doesn't live here, but we still have to do the confirmation mail.
Okay.
We just can't take your word.
But so, for example, if they've recycled the ballot or whatever, that they should still find a way to get in touch with you.
Email the Board of Elections or call us, and then we'll initiate the confirmation mailing on that voter, that individual, that they're talking about that no longer lives there.
Okay. There are a couple of requests for more information on Dropbox security, and do the teams picking up the ballots from the Dropboxes, do they have security with them?
No.
No. Okay.
No.
Okay.
I mean, there's staff. We in the primary, we instituted the same mechanisms in the primary. We had no issues.
Okay. Well, different times, but I understand.
We're fine.
Can you please clarify when the mail-in ballots will be counted? Will you be able to announce those that have been voted on November 3rd, or will you not be counting them until 8 p.m. that evening?
That was one of the slides. I did communicate that. So we have been given permission by the State Board of Elections to initiate canvass October 1st. We are planning to initiate our canvass in Montgomery County starting the 6th of November, leading up to November 3rd. So on November 3rd, when all vote centers have closed, we will release early voting results, election day results, and any up to that date mail-in canvass results. But we're going to be continuously canvassing ballots through the month of November. Our goal, the sooner the better, obviously, because we need to provide our results to the State Board of Elections so they could convene the Electoral College.
If you could wave a magic wand, what is your top wish, or top first and second wish?
My first wish, I want some sleep. Then my second wish is for everyone to vote by mail, right? And my third wish is that everyone returns that ballot as soon as possible. Don't sit on it. Don't wait until November 3rd to see if a meteor is going to crash on Earth. Just vote that ballot and return it as soon as possible, because in that way we could start canvassing as soon as possible to get better results on November 3rd.
Somebody asked, how do we get a sample ballot, presuming that they did not receive one?
You could go on our website and you could download your sample ballot, or you could email us at elections@montgomerycountymd to request another one to be sent to you.
Okay. And in terms of judges, where are you in terms of the numbers you have versus what you're wishing you had? Are you close?
No, we're doing well. The only issues we're having is we need our candidates to follow through. You're only a candidate, and until you do your online quiz, your virtual training, and your hands-on training is when you are considered a poll worker. But right now, as is this morning, we're doing well, and we're contacting those individuals that have taken the quiz but must take the other portion. So right now, we're good. We're doing well. We just really want to impress upon people to vote by mail, because we're reducing the 248 precincts on election day to 39 vote centers.
Yeah. For a mail-in ballot request, what stage is it in if it says, quote, application processed?
Your application is processed.
But that doesn't tell you if the ballot's gone out.
No. Once it goes out, it'll say ballot sent.
Okay.
And then once it's sent and once you receive it and you send it back and it's scanned like that image I showed you, it will say ballot received. So depending when you applied, that's kind of if you applied early, pre-August 6th, pre-August 10th, you should be receiving your ballots soon. Ballots will start being mailed out tomorrow. But if you applied yesterday, you're not going to get your ballot this week. It's going to take us at least 2 weeks to process. So it depends when you applied, if you're going to get your ballot starting this coming tomorrow, starting Friday.
Okay. So if it says application processed in any event, that means it has not yet been sent. The ballot has,
No, but it could be that it's in this batch or the second batch. But if it's
right,
been
right.
processed, it's gonna be mailed out to you
Okay.
soon.
Okay. If I received a ballot by email, can I print it and put it in the Dropbox?
Yeah, of course.
What would you like Women's Democratic Club and our friends to do most?
Definitely promote voting by mail. Help definitely provide information so they can make a vote plan. We understand and respect people if they want to vote in person, but impress upon them that there's a high possibility there's going to be a wait.
I know we're almost out of time here. Why do you prefer that people mail in ballots rather than use drop boxes?
Okay, so the word mail in or vote by mail, it also means absentee. So when I say mail in, that's the title in which the State Board of Election has designated that. We would prefer that you use the ballot drop box. So if you have any concerns with the USPS collection bins, use the official ballot drop box. It's just the title is called mail in as per the State Board of Elections.
Got it. So, but for your purposes, mailing in could mean mailing it through a Dropbox or through a USPS box.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Everybody's got different ideas of what words mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think we're going to have that be our last question. We're flat out of time, Dr. Zelaya. I can't thank you enough for taking the time to join us and to be our speaker for our annual meeting. It's been terrific. And I know there are more questions out there. I suspect you'll be getting them. But as soon as I get from you your slideshow, it will go up along with this recording. So I encourage people to share it with people that you think need this information. So thank you, Dr. Zelaya. I'm going to make a couple more announcements, but I know you probably need to get out of here and get back to your work. So thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much. Take care. Stay safe and vote by mail. But use the Dropbox if you want to.
There you go. There you go. So thank you, everybody, for sticking with us. I know it was a long program and a lot of material. I really want to make sure everybody knows in terms of not just having a plan, making sure everybody you know has a plan. Also, there are alternative ways to do this. So there's the early voting, there's the election day, there's vote by mail, there's downloading and printing at home. But as you saw, that doesn't allow them to scan it in their machines. It has to be done manually. And I want to put on your radar specifically an upcoming event WDC is hosting relating to elections. It's the ballot questions. You have probably heard about these county charter ballot questions, A, B, C, and D. They sound dry, they sound grim, they sound granular. They are critical to everything everything Montgomery County does, our schools, our roads, our public services. One of them is on the structure of the council, one is on our budget. Please join us October 6th at 7:30 p.m. for a panel including a number of leading elected officials, including our own former county executive, Ike Leggett, to talk about the pros and cons, why you should be against B and against D, for A and for C. So it's on our website. I'm sorry, it's a lot of letters and it's not clear, but you really please encourage people to join us October 6th. It's on our website. There will be a sign up shortly to hear the logistics of these ballot questions that are going to make a major impact if we get these answers wrong. So I think that's all I have. Make a plan, be safe, get yourselves organized to participate in our, letter writing, our phone banking, our text banking. We have a lot going on. Sorry, I'm behind on my slides here. Here we go. The Women's Democratic Club is happy to say that the voting guide from the League of Women Voters is available. They also have resources through the League of Women Voters and also organizations like Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights to help with voter suppression. If you see something strange going on there, please contact the League of Women Voters or the Lawyers Committee for Civil Rights under law. And I encourage you to please just help everybody get out there. Help them get us over this hump. We do not need this man reelected. We don't need him to have enough of an edge to say that he was denied his victory. I'm not going to go on. I encourage you to please look at our website. It's scrolling up there. You'll see we have a terrific resource put together by our advocacy chair, Joanne Korovos, called I'm skipping away. Sorry, Scott. No, you're good. You're good. Leave it. Sorry. There's register to vote. You're checking your voter registration. You can find out where your ballot is. The steps are there on how to vote in person, either early on the day of. The locations for your ballot boxes are listed right on our website. Some very important dates, the texting commands that Dr. Zelaya gave us. And as I was saying, Joanne Korovos, our new advocacy chair, put together a terrific voters corner, which is right on the front of our landing page at the website. And at the very bottom, you'll see there's this great video here from our new state speaker, Adrienne Jones, the first Black woman to head the Maryland State Legislative House. A 2-minute video on how to vote, submit an online voting request. Very short, very factual. Please share it with folks who are still kind of not sure how to go about this. We need to get everybody voting. And in the meantime, please volunteer. Please give generously to the candidates of your choice, and hope to see you October 6th for our program on the county ballot questions. Thank you, everyone. Good night.